Hawthorne. I never believed the stories. They called it the Hawthorne Institute, a psychiatric hospital abandoned for decades after a chain of tragedies nobody could ever fully explain. Some said the staff simply walked out one night and never came back. Others swore the patients took over, and whatever happened inside made sure no one left. We went there for the thrill, 5 of us, young, curious, and stupid. The plan was simple: go inside before sundown, film the place, and get out before it got too dark. But the moment we reached the building, I felt that cold, heavy weight pressing against my chest. The hospital loomed in the distance, framed by skeletal trees whose twisted branches clawed at the fading sky. The last light of day bled into the cracked windows, turning them into deep, red eyes. A chain-link fence surrounded the property, bent in places as though something had pushed from the inside. We found an opening in the fence and made our way to a side door. Rust covered the handle, and the hinges screamed when we forced it open. The smell hit me first: damp concrete, mold, and something metallic, almost like dried blood. The air inside was stale, thick, like it hadn't moved in years. The first corridor stretched ahead, narrow and endless. The paint peeled from the walls in jagged strips, curling downward like old skin. Faded signage hung crooked on the walls. Ward C, Recreation Hall, Electrotherapy. Every step we took sent echoes bouncing back at us from all directions. Dust swirled in the beam of my flashlight, drifting lazily as though the air itself didn't want to be disturbed. In the reception area, a thick layer of grime coated the desk. A ledger lay open, its pages warped and yellow. Names, dates, diagnoses, all handwritten in fading ink. My light swept across them until it caught on one detail that made my stomach knot. My own name, written there decades before I was born. I tried to shake it off and keep moving. The deeper we went, the more the building seemed to close in. The hallways narrowed, ceilings dropped lower, and the shadows began to move strangely in the corners of my vision. In one of the old wards, I passed a row of locked doors. All but one was sealed shut with heavy padlocks. The one open door revealed a perfectly preserved room. Bed neatly made, walls uncracked, the air almost fresh. On the bed sat a porcelain doll with no eyes, its face cracked and stained. Beside it was a plastic hospital wristband. The tag was faded, but I could still read it. My name. The sound of footsteps echoed from somewhere behind me. Slow, deliberate, not matching the rhythm of anyone I could see. I pressed forward, turning into another corridor, only to find it warped. The walls bowed inward, and the floor slanted ever so slightly. It felt like the entire building was leaning toward me, pulling me deeper. Somewhere far away, a door slammed. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered and buzzed before going out entirely. I was left in the suffocating dark, my flashlight beam jittering across the walls as my hands shook. The air grew warmer, heavy with the scent of rust and something sweet, cloying, like flowers left to rot. And then, a faint sound. Whispers. Not one voice, but dozens, weaving over one another, too soft to understand. They seemed to be coming from every direction. I turned a corner and froze. Down the hallway, barely lit by my torch, stood a figure in a white coat. It faced the wall, motionless. Its posture was wrong. Too tall, too stiff. My light caught the side of its head, and there was no face, just smooth, pale skin. Before I could react, The figure twitched, a jerky, unnatural movement, and began to turn toward me. I bolted. The corridors blurred into each other. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear anything else. I found a stairwell and rushed up 2 flights, only to emerge into a hallway I knew we had already passed earlier. It was then I realized the hospital wasn't letting us out. The layout kept changing, looping back on itself, swallowing us whole. The whispers grew louder, layered with something else now, breathing. Slow and wet, right against my ear, though no one was near me. I stumbled into what used to be the operating theatre. Rusted surgical tools lay scattered on the floor. In the centre of the room stood an operating table, its leather strap still buckled, and above it, a single surgical light swayed gently, as though something had just brushed past it. From the corners of the room, shadow-like shapes began to emerge. Tall, human-shaped, but distorted. Limbs too long, heads tilting unnaturally. I backed away slowly, but every step seemed to pull them closer. My flashlight flickered and died. The darkness swallowed everything. And then, silence. Not just the absence of noise, but the complete absence of anything. No breath, no heartbeat, no sound of my own footsteps. A door appeared in the wall ahead of me. It had a glowing red exit sign above it. I ran. My hands hit the crash bar and the door gave way. But instead of the outside, I stepped into the reception hall again. The ledger still lay on the desk, but now every line contained my name. Page after page after page. The whispers returned, right at my back. I turned slowly. Every corridor, every doorway, every shadow was filled with figures in white coats. Their faceless heads tilted in perfect unison. One of them stepped forward. The air grew icy. And then, everything went black. I don't remember how I got out. I woke up this morning in my own bed. My phone is gone. My friends are gone. But last night, when I closed my eyes, I felt cold hands on my face. And in the silence, just before I fell asleep, I heard them whisper, "You never left."